Hey, awesomes. How's it going? How's my English 3050 wonderful students doing out there? I think I have graded everything. Got a few emails today, Project 2A resubmissions. I look forward to looking at those soon. Um, this today about upstream thinking and all in support of our Project 3 um, collaboration memo, recommendation memo, proposal, I think is what we call it on the syllabus or for the assignment for this week that we're looking at. And I just want to reiterate really not looking for a super huge long document right now, just looking at something very, very, very specific and thinking about our specific or particular topics. Okay. So don't want anybody to freak out, but I do want to kind of do a brief overview or bring us back up to speed, I guess, talking about upstream thinking, kind of where we started this semester. I was hoping we'd get to this a little sooner, but um, it's all good. All right, so a couple of quotes I really kind of get us thinking about kind of what I want us, or how I want us to kind of think about what it means to kind of look. I keep saying this, how do we look further upstream? So I'm going to kind of give a little. I think hopefully this will help. So often in life we get stuck in a cycle of response. We've talked about upstream thinking being instead of just handling all the problems that the results of everything and just handling them over and over and over and over, kind of get stuck in this cycle. Try to look up and solve these things kind of before they happen. So they continue. We put out fires, we deal with emergencies, all right? We handle one problem after another, but we never get around to fixing the systems that cause the problem. So systems is kind of going to be the key word. A telltale sign of upstream work is that it involves systems thinking. Remember, every system is perfectly designed to get the results it gets. I mean, you think about those, a lot of these are taken from primarily from, well, page 5 and 7 from the introduction we read. And then further on in the book, we didn't get a chance to read too many of them, but if there's one chapter, and on that page was talking about how will you how will you attack the system, how will you look at the system differently. So that's kind of where I'm going to be focusing. So feel free to read that chapter. And some more quotes. Systems thinking. Upstream work is about reducing the probability that problems will happen, and for that reason, the work must culminate in systems change. Right. So we're looking at systems again. To change the system is to change the rules that govern us or the culture that influences us, right? So we think about, we're going to look at some of the examples. What are the systems, right? So if we look back at Expedia, right, that was the place. Then we have the issue, customer calls, right? It was costing a lot of money. These customer calls were costing $5, $10 a piece or whatever. So I had to look at what were the systems, and in this case, right, the systems were 3 or 4 independent systems that weren't communicating with each other, right? Because they were in this independent way. So they had to look at the system of how those systems look. So it's kind of like there was a several systems kind of taking place there. Another example we read in our introduction talked about Norway. Particularly, they were talking about infant mortality, and they're talking about, of course, the healthcare system, in general, and why Norway's had a better, well, ranked better, at least in the world, healthcare system. One of the things they pointed to was how they spent, right, or where they spent money in their healthcare system. It's a different prioritization, kind of by way of example of their upstream thinking. So the system there was prioritized spending within the healthcare system. So that system had already been affected by placing a priority in where they put money. So they put money more up front, right? So from the time that parents in Norway find out that they're pregnant, it's like it automatically begins, right? Instead of waiting till later. So that's why their infant mortality rate and other things, general happiness, et cetera, that the book talked about. And I believe in the chapter on problem blindness, Chicago Public Schools was an interesting place that was talked about. So the issue there that they were looking at was dropout rate, right? So and then they, of course, further identified, when they looked at the system, they looked at the numbers or the data, I guess I should say. I found out that if the students didn't make it through ninth grade, then they weren't going to make it. So ninth grade became this crucial area. And so what they had to do within that system actually was change the mindset of teachers, as you may recall. And of course, they put together this team. Um, and this team started looking at the data from here, data from here. So they kind of created their own system. But what even within that, creating a committee, right, or creating a group of people that are going to look at a particular problem. A lot of times within that system, it's not just a part of changing the system is, and I think for Chicago Public Schools is such an incredible example, change the mindset of the teachers to change